And then the next game will be New Zealand and Sri Lanka. Coming to you, Mohit, we've seen that the Sri Lankan side is quite dependent on these three players. We can say Chamaria Tapattu, Inoka Ranavira, or Oshadi Ranasinghe. And when they perform, we know that Sri Lanka is able to put that strong fight against the oppositions. You saw that in the first game as well. They were giving quite their all. But in this scenario where you're representing your country in something like a Commonwealth Games, a multi-sporting event, how it will be for someone, a youngster like Vishmi Gunaratne for that matter, who made her debut against India. She's a raw talent there. We've seen her do wonders in domestic cricket as well. How much a responsibility should the young players from the Sri Lankan side come and take for the side for them to dominate the proceedings?
Yeah, you can't really be certain about the responsibility, especially for someone like Vishmi, because a lot of the times with young players, you just want to give them a free hand and let them do what they want, like India did with Shafali
Right.
Verma when she first burst onto the scene. But what you would probably want her to do is like just learn quickly. Like in the last match, she was dismissed of the very first ball against Catherine Brunchy, somebody who's done it to the best players in the world. So that can obviously happen. But the learning that she can take from it is like just take more time, get adjusted to the conditions, and then start playing your natural game, because this is the first time she's playing in England. And I think this has the potential to be a very close game, because like you were saying yesterday, had Sri Lanka had 20 more runs on the board the first time around, they could have probably like had England in a lot of trouble. So all they needed there was like for one player to take the responsibility, be it anyone junior or senior, to just bat through the 20 overs. And I think just looking at how the pitches have been in the last 2 or 3 games, the Sri Lankan spinners will be licking their lips, because the top three of New Zealand are very good players of spin, but below that, the players that are coming in are either very inexperienced or haven't faced the kind of quality spin that they will be facing tomorrow against Sri Lanka. So I think like Sri Lanka definitely has has a good chance of creating an upset in this match, and also against South Africa, because of the conditions, they are more similar to Sri Lanka than England. Like obviously there is a lot of swing, but then Sri Lanka will be using its spinners for maybe 15 or 16 of the 20 overs. So the swing factor is probably not something that will challenge even Susie Bates or Sophie Devine, because they've grown up playing it all their lives. Both of them are very good players of spin, but I see Sugandhika Kumari and Inoka Ranvira bowling a lot in the first 8-10 overs. And then if the two of them can get these two or Melikar out quickly, I think Sri Lanka will be in the game, and they have the batting to chase down a 140 kind of total. We saw it against India, and they are a good chasing team. It's a team that generally likes to chase, because if they know what target is in front of them, they can go about it accordingly. Because batting first, they sometimes don't really pick up the tempos all that well, other than Chamari Atapattu. Either they go back into a shell or become over aggressive. So if they have
Right.
a target in front of them, they can like make a good fist of it.
And these little things, Sri Lanka would want that these things should go in their favor in that match against New Zealand. And as we were mentioning the names of Inoka Ranavira, Shadi Ranasinghe, or Chamaria Tapattu for that matter, it's the experience that we see help the players dominate the proceedings. And of course, you can't buy experience from any supermarket. That's the case with New Zealand as well. We were previously speaking of Sophie Devine, Amy Setterthwaite, and Susie Bates there. Amy Setterthwaite is, of course, retired from international cricket, but Sophie Devine, Susie Bates, and now we are also mentioning Amelia Kerr in that trio of New Zealand. So, personally, who are you excited to watch in this contest, Yash, from the New Zealand side?
I think so. These top three are the ones who have to be doing well. If New Zealand has to have, I'm not saying has to have a chance to win tomorrow, because tomorrow they will win for sure. But if they have to have a chance to earn any of those three medals, then this top three have to play in every match. It's impossible that New Zealand can win against Australia or India or England's of the world without this top three performing. Yes, Mohit mentioned that they play spin well, but end of the day, these are the three that need to do it well. Because if you see after four, let's even include Maddie Green, but after that, it's a very inexperienced team. So they will need these top three to perform well, especially Amelia Kerr. Your Sophie Devine is doing well. Susie Bates is doing well. Amelia Kerr is one name that has to do well, because She's a leader for you. She's your future. She is the one on which you are going to build your next team, like you did with Bates and Devine a few years back, a decade back rather. That's the same that Amelia Kerr will now need to do with the upcoming New Zealand team. Most likely going to be the next captain of New Zealand. So yeah, you need to see that Amelia Kerr does well, and she has the right team. Whenever Devine or Bates and the others retire, that Kerr is the one who's going to lead all this new set of youngsters for New Zealand.
An Amelia Kerr special. We'll be all hoping to see that in tomorrow's match, of course. But Yash has mentioned that it's going to be a win for New Zealand. Do you agree with that, or you have any different views, or you think Sri Lanka is going to create some surprise there, Mohit?
Don't be
I
diplomatic.
honestly, I don't know, but I want Sri Lanka to do well because we've seen a lot of them and we know that this team is trying its best and the senior players also are leading by example and pulling their weight. So I definitely wouldn't put it past Sri Lanka to upset New Zealand. And I think this is as good a chance for as any for Sri Lanka to open its account in the Commonwealth Games. So I think they have more than a good chance of defeating New Zealand. And yeah, I just think yeah, and I think probably this is time for Nilakshi De Silva to finally get that elusive 50 because she got close a lot of times against India. Last match also she was batting well, but then she got dismissed. So I think we might see a good innings from Nilakshi De Silva as well.
So Mohit is saying Sri Lanka. Keep this in mind.
Okay then. That would be interesting to have our both experts on different pages. We have content to talk about in the next show as well. We can see whose predictions have gone right. But of course, Sri Lanka would also give a strong fight because we know we've said this before. They have nothing to lose and a lot more to prove. So this is going to be interesting to watch tomorrow. Two exciting contests in store for all of us. We'll of course join you with the updates of those matches as well. Until then, you stay tuned to Women's Cricket Zone for all the updates on women's cricket.